Before we get started, I wanted to say, making videos like this is well outside my comfort zone. But you guys have shown me quite a bit of love. I've had 100 followers in the last week alone, and tens of thousands of views. I can safely say that's more friends than I've made in my whole life. So thank you. And thanks for checking in on my channel every hour of the day. Today we've got a real blast from the past with this 1940s Art Deco dresser. And let's just say it's seen some better days. The finish is worn, the drawers stick like they've been glued shut, and honestly, it's been begging for a little love. Now, if you caught my YouTube short a few weeks back, you'll remember I asked you what I should do with it. The winning choice, a painted body with nice dark stained drawer fronts. So today we're rolling up our sleeves and seeing if we can turn this 1940s Art Deco dresser into a one-of-a-kind modern masterpiece. Since I want to stay alive as long as possible, I tested this thing for lead right away. Given the age, you really don't know what can be in it. But no lead, and it's also not walnut, I saw after scraping off a little bit of the finish, so I think this thing is going to get painted. So let's go sand it. While the body of this dresser was not in the worst of shape, these drawers were something else. I had to fully disassemble them so I could get to all the nooks and crannies and sand it smooth and get rid of all the gunk that was in there. And I wish I had a better term for what it was, but that was gunk. When it was time to sand these drawer fronts, I noticed that there was a routed groove that was maybe 1/8 of an inch deep, so I ended up getting my hand plane out and from there my thickness planer to try and get this out. Sanding this would have taken all day. Once I had the drawers sanded down and cleaned up as much as possible, I reassembled them and I was going to test fit them back in the dresser body to see if I could salvage the old style tracks that kept them in line and moving smoothly within the body, but I'm not very optimistic about it. Even though everything's cleaned up pretty well, when I put the drawers in, there's a lot of resistance and they want to stick quite a bit with these old school wooden tracks. While I could have tried lubricating them with some paste wax to make them move a little bit more freely, I think our best option here is to replace them entirely with the modern style T-track and nylon guide. Now you saw me remove the tracks from in here, and there's still this piece on the drawers that I'd like to replace and use one of these nylon guides. They seem to work really well, and I think there's just enough space in these drawers to make it happen. But I'm gonna have to cut this flush with the back of the drawer. But if you take a look, I think we can just get it in there. We might have to sand off a little bit of the ends just to make it fit, but I think we can do it. You can see that the original track is quite a bit thinner than the new T-track, and I think I can trim off enough material while still having the nylon guide fit. You'll see here that I thinned out the track just a little bit so it matches the same vertical height as the original track that I removed. You'll see this a little bit better here when I put it in. You can see that small notch allowing it to sit a little bit lower. You can see me test fitting the drawer to make sure that there's still enough room for it to work properly with the new track in place. Once I know everything will fit properly, I'll go ahead and pre-drill some screw holes so I can install these later.
Now, one of the last things I have to do here is install these nylon guides to the back of the drawers, and I'm just measuring the center line of this drawer and screwing them in with the 3 screws that come with it. These T-tracks and nylon guides are already making these drawers move super smoothly, and I think when it's all said and done with some paste wax, they'll move silky smooth. Although there's still quite a bit of work to do with the body of the dresser, these drawers are fitting perfectly and sanded smooth, so I think it's time to test out this penetrating stain on the drawer fronts and see what they're going to look like. After I wiped on a pretty liberal coat of this stain, I pretty much immediately wiped it off. Maple is known for being pretty patchy when you stain it, and there was a little bit of patchiness there, but I think it looked pretty good, and I was confident enough to stain the other 2 drawer fronts, let it dry overnight, and seal it in with a couple coats of lacquer. And do as I say, not as I do. I'm not wearing a respirator here, and I really should be. But my garage is open and I'm about to leave the shop for the day, so it'll have lots of time to air out before I go back in. Once the lacquer was dry the next day, I gave it a quick sand with 400 grit sandpaper, being careful not to burn through the full layer of lacquer and damaging the stained finish below. Once it was smooth, I was able to give it another coat of lacquer, and I must have repeated this 2 or 3 times to get a nice smooth finish. Although lacquer has some downsides, like its flammability and its odor, it goes on super well. These spray cans give such a great surface finish, dry super quick, and you don't need any fancy equipment to do it. For small projects like this, couple drawer fronts, it is my go-to, and you can get some really great results. While the dresser body was in better shape than the drawers, there was still quite a bit of work that I needed to do after the first sanding. I filled in quite a few cracks, gouges, and dents with normal wood filler and Mohawk's epoxy putty, which you can see how to use in my previous videos. I sanded the dresser body down to 180 grit and gave it a quick dusting to make sure that the primer would stick properly in the next step. And one thing I like to do on all my dressers that have these deep cracks is to put paintable caulk in them. And the reason I do this is it gives a nice clean look and there's no weird gaps that stand out once it's painted. Once I have the dresser completely prepped, I get my favorite shellac-based primer out, and this stuff sticks to just about anything, and it dries extremely quick. I like to use some tin foil in my painter's tray, which makes everything really easy to throw out when I'm done. Another thing the shellac-based primer is really good at is sealing in any wood tannins that might try and leach up from your wood into your paint. This can ruin your finish, and it happens all the time with refinished furniture, so keep that in mind when you're thinking about choosing a good primer. I applied 2 coats of this shellac-based primer. In between the 2 coats, I gave it a quick sanding with 220 grit sandpaper just to knock down any bumps, and I also did this before I moved on to painting. And speaking of paint, I have about half a can of this Behr Alkyd enamel paint in equestrian green left over from a previous project. This was actually another project that was an Art Deco style. It was 2 nightstands that I made out of a vanity with stained maple drawer fronts, so this project is pretty similar to that. I'm going to strain this paint through a paint filter, add a little bit of water, and spray it using this cheap spray gun that I bought. This spray gun is about 60 Canadian dollars, so pretty cheap to get started, but you can definitely roll or brush this paint on no problem. After I stirred up the paint, I strained about half the can into the paint sprayer and added maybe 2 or 3 ounces of water to it to help thin it out and make it level nice once I spray it on. And since I have so little of this paint left and I really don't want to go out and buy another whole can, I added the water that I would normally add directly to the spray gun to the can and shook it up so I could rinse out every little bit that I could. Now we're in the final stretches here. We're painting the body of this dresser, and something I did off camera, and it's really important to note, if you're gonna spray, make sure you test your spray gun settings before you get started. This way you're not applying too much or too little paint on your actual workpiece. And it's also important to note that you're not going for full coverage in your first coat of paint. You want a nice light coat, and it might be patchy. You can build this up with the next 1 or 2 or 3 layers of paint, and you shouldn't have to worry about it too much. Something I'm particularly worried about is running out of paint. Since I only have 1/2 of a can, I might be pretty stretched. This Alkyd enamel paint takes about 4 to 8 hours to dry in between coats, so I left it overnight and came back the next morning, gave it a quick scuff sand with 220 grit sandpaper, and gave it another coat. I think in total I gave it 3 full coats of paint just to get absolutely full coverage and a nice smooth surface. And with the final coat of paint dry, it was time to install the tracks and make sure the drawers fit one final time. And unfortunately, one drawer did need a little bit of a wedge at the back, just to get the angle right. Although at this point I really want the project to be over with so I can see the final result, I want to clean up these drawers as much as possible. And there was some staining I couldn't sand out, so I'm going to cover it with some drawer liners. And really all this is some peel and stick wallpaper from the hardware store. and I'm embarrassed to admit, but I struggle with this more than almost any other part of refinishing furniture. And with the drawer liners in, the last thing I always like to do to my drawers is apply feed-in wax, which is a beeswax and orange oil that is sort of like a wood conditioner. It seals in some odor, and it even makes the drawer smell pretty fresh. These tracks will also get a coat and will make everything slide really nicely. I am just shaking in anticipation to see what this looks like with the drawers finally installed. And just an FYI, people pay extra for a view like that. And just like that, this dresser is done and ready for a new home. What was destined for the trash is now ready for a new life, and I don't think I could be happier with how it turned out. Let me know how you think this project turned out in the comments below, and let me know if you would have done anything differently. I'd love to try it out in the next project. And if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps out a lot.